Hi everyone, in today's video I am going to be sharing with you 10 psychological study tricks that will boost your brain power. Because, and I quote, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. And so if you want to become a grade A student and know some psyche secrets to how to get there, keep on watching. Trick number 1, context-dependent learning. Science has shown that if you take the exam in the exact same spot where you've been sitting for the entire semester, you are better able to recall the material and do better on the exam. The reason being is that your mind associates some information with an environment. So the environment is kind of like a cue or a trigger. To give you an example, let's say when you're in the kitchen, your mind is inevitably going to be like, okay, kitchen, cooking, recipes, and it's going to pull out everything you know on that matter based on where you are. Now you might say, well, Anna, my exam is not in the classroom where I learn. It's kind of like in an auditorium or in a completely different place. What you can do is you can make your desk mimic the same format and setting as when you studied for that class. So let's say in French class, if you have the eraser there, your bottle of water there, a pencil there, and your notes are a bit like tilted, mimic that pattern during the exam, and that should be enough to trigger your brain of like, oh, this kind of looks like French class, French. Trick number 2, which is kind of a little bit the opposite of trick number 1, but stay with me. When you study, change it up. So change the environment. Don't always study in the exact same spot. I like to study in my bed. Apparently, scientists tell me that's not a great thing. I should change up where I study simply because, let's say if you study for math in the kitchen, and then you study for math in the library, and then you study for math on the bus, the brain is gonna be like, she is using these math formulas in a lot of different environments. Maybe these math formulas are crucial to Anna's survival. Let us solidify and make more lasting these math formulas because, hey, she's using it everywhere, so it must be important, right? The brain is a funny creature, I have to say. Number 3, pre-testing and the fluency illusion. Remember how in all my videos I tell you that you should learn from your mistakes? Well, apparently there is proof that you actually do learn from your mistakes and you should make them a lot. A number of articles I've read recommended that you do a practice test before you study for the material. Pre-testing primes your brain to get ready to take an exam and also to get ready to see the material presented in question format. Also, pre-testing yourself before you study for the material allows you to get rid of the fluency illusion, which is a common thing with students. That time, my friends, when you're like, I know this, if it's a multiple choice question, exam, I'll find my way around it, and it's cool, I know it. Kind of like a Jay-Z moment over there, but you know what? It shows that, oopsie, you might not know it as good as you thought you did. So it breaks that bias and that fallacy, and then you can actually apply a more, realistic approach to studying. Moving on, retrieval practice. Practice. It helps you recall information much better than just simply rereading the material. This is no mystery to you. I've been preaching this on my channel since the beginning of time, but now I have science backing me up, so I'm gonna keep pushing it on you to make those practice tests. Make those practice tests. It's so late, I'm so tired, but make those practice tests. I'm almost done. Make those practice tests. Tip number 5, big word incoming, metacognition. It is important that halfway through your studying, you take a step back and you understand and be aware of your thought process and what you know. What I recommend is to make a study guide or a simple checklist of all the theories and the concepts and the formulas that you need to know, and halfway through your study, like I said, just stop, take a break, and just write down everything you believe that you remember, and that way you can just be self-aware of where you are, and this provides valuable feedback because it shows you the present and how long do you have to go until you stop studying and you're ready for the exam. Number 6 is gonna be an entire video next week. So if you're interested in this, subscribe, because next week I'm gonna bombard you with this topic, okay? Sleep on it. When we're awake, we weaken memory connections. If we're awake for too long, connection between neurons, so the synapses, weaken or become saturated. This just means that you'll be having more difficulty remembering information. So if you're trying to cram for an exam and stay awake for long periods of time and go on little sleep or 2 hours before an exam, you're gonna burn out your neurons and you won't remember jack blank. Sleeping allows your brain to make new connections and also to solidify connections. This always happens to me when I have a good night's sleep after studying for a material and I'm like, oh my god, I don't remember anything, I'm frustrated, I just reviewed this a billion times and I cannot recall anything for the life of me. That's why I recommend that you do your practice test in the morning, so when you wake up all fresh and the material is all solidified and those connections have been made, you're gonna see your hand is just gonna like have a mind of its own and you'll see you remembered everything. But you have to not neglect your sleep. Number 7, consistent brain exercises. Neuroscientists say that like fun games like Sudoku or like puzzles or even reading a novel on the side of school, like constantly, like always reading a book or always reading poetry. And so when it comes time to study, you're gonna have a more easier time than if you're like dormant and then you have to make a huge effort. It's as if you're telling me, yo bro, sick bro, I'm gonna lift up this like 2-ton brick bro and I didn't warm up and I never did, you know, weight training ever. Watch me lift this. I'm gonna be like, ooh, you're gonna get hurt. The brain is the same thing. Number 8. Improve memory through associations. When I tell you to think about a car, I'm pretty sure you don't just see a car in your head. You see the car on the street or like people around the car or the car in a parking lot, or you know, there's so many things that are associated with car, color, speed maybe. So if your brain thinks in connections and makes them constantly, why should you just think in isolated chunks that are not related to one another? So next time you have to memorize a list, let's say Apple, Lysol, and bookcase, try to make them somehow related. If you go creatively and more ridiculously, you'll remember it better. So let's say make up a story. The Lysol that was on the bookshelf made the apple fell because they stumbled. You're gonna be able to remember those 3 things better if you create like a story around it, rather than just like, okay, Lysol, bookcase, apple. Lysol, bookcase, apple. Lysol, huh? I'm hungry. Burger King? What? Tip number 9, mental hooks. I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes now. And I want you to think of a polar bear. Just gonna give you a second. Did you think of like polar bear, like the words? Or did you in your mind see an image or a video playing of a polar bear? Surprise, surprise, we think in images. Human beings retain information much better if it is visual and in color. These images are literally mental hooks that help you retrieve the information from your long-term memory. A way you can use this to your advantage is using mind maps. Mind maps allows you to be visual, to use color, to use little doodles and images to help create connections with my previous points. It is basically the best tool you can have to help you improve your memory and remember what you study and be ready for that exam. And to finish off, you know me, I cannot not mention this in one video. Active learning is key. I've done my research, and if you don't believe me, you can do your research, but it is freaking factual, pardon my French, that more complex thought processes that engages more senses are more beneficial to studying because it involves a greater number of neuron connections and more neurological crosstalk. So if you do one of my active reading techniques, I will link it down below. It's awesome. It will change your life, and I will do so much more videos on active learning and active reading and active studying because it is key, as you see with all the articles around us. So with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to me. if you like what you see, because I post study videos every Thursday. And one last thing, do you like this background better or the one in my previous video with just the bookshelf? Let me know. I thought this was more homey and inviting. Bye guys, love you!